Welcome to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and beer. I'm Ben. I'm here with Aadil.
Hey!
Hey! How you doing, dude?
I had a bit of an adventure this weekend, and none of it involved playing video games, and most of the beer drunk was not craft.
It happens sometimes.
But
Can't
yes.
be craft all the time.
No. But yeah, things are good, a little busy. This was supposed to be a week off. It felt busier.
Yeah.
So I've taught one of my 7 courses today, as in one of the 7 in the week was today, and I was just like, well, I'm done for the day. Taught from 12 to 1, I'm like, I don't have the mental capacity to be back in this shit. I need to get back in a routine. But yeah, how about you?
Yeah, not too bad. Day full of work, which has been very productive, very good. Weekend away as well with the family, and again, not much craft beer to be found where I was. A few bottles of Goose Island IPA, a few bottles of Punk IPA. We went to a holiday park at the end of the season. They're having their like closing down sort of things. So yeah, basically it was what they had left. Only one of the 3 bars had any decent beer, and I just drank Guinness for most of the time.
Oh,
and
man,
then
I haven't had Guinness in ages.
yeah, and it wasn't even that nice, to be fair.
No,
I've had much better stouts recently.
Well, yeah.
And then yeah, I did drink some. I took a load of Cannonball and a few other beers down with me to have. So I did get a little in. But speaking of craft beers, let's open up what we're going to drink this evening. What have you got to start with?
I actually went to the supermarket this week instead of a bottle shop, because I realized that between you two, you guys don't usually go to the co-ops, and co-ops actually have been expanding their craft beer selection. So, I've got a toast ale brewed by World Top Brewery in Yorkshire. But they are a so toast. Here's the change. It's their craft lager, crisp, refreshing, and planet saving. Because I will read you their shtick. Food production is the biggest contributor to climate change, but 1/3 of all food is wasted. We're here to change that. We brew our planet-saving beer with surplus fresh bread. All our profits go to charities fixing the food system. Raise a toast, save the world. Cheers.
Nice. I think I've had a beer from them because I noticed it's in a can. It used to be in bottles. I haven't had one from them for a long time.
Yeah, so this craft lager is fresh bread, malted barley, and pearl, spalter, and mittelfrüh hops. Pilsner style craft lager.
Nice. Actually, I think the last beer I had from them was a collaboration with Wiper and True, which was last year at some point, maybe? I don't know. But I am going to drink a beer from a new brewery for me, from Saltaire. They're just called Saltaire Brewery. They are, Saltaire Brewery. From West Yorkshire. This is their Velocity Session IPA. Only a little baby, 4.1%. They say not very much. Velocity, light, citrusy, refreshing. And that's it. It just says the allergens are malted barley, oats, and wheat. And there's a little bit of text in German. But that might just be... I don't know. Don't know what that is. Who knows? So I'm going to crack this one open. See what it's like. Another beer. This one was actually from a supermarket as well. This one was from Tesco.
Oh, nice.
I think it's possibly now the only beer that I haven't had from Tesco. From their newer range of beers that came out not too long ago. It's the first time I've seen it, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know when it's appeared. Don't know when it came out in their stores, but there it is. So I'm gonna crack into this. I see a camera in your face, and I assume you haven't quite had a chance to have a sup of your beer yet?
No, I haven't, but I can do that right now. It smells like. It smells kind of appley, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's got a bit of a. Yeah, so normally you get a bit of more, like, not sort of. Well, maybe not on the nose of a lager, but. Yeah, it almost like it smells like lightly cidery. It's that sort of appley in the nose, and that's like the only note.
Wonder if that's to do with the bread.
It's really crisp and refreshing and planet saving. It definitely doesn't have the standard sort of nuttiness you get at the back end of a lager. I'm actually surprised it's not nearly as carbonated as I would have thought.
Yeah.
So there's not an effervescent crispness, but there's like a very strong immediate slightly fruity taste that just sort of fades a little, and then you're left a little dry in the mouth. Right, it is actually what I usually want when I see craft lager, which is doing lager pretty well and not going too far out of its environs.
Yeah, nice.
Versus sometimes you get these craft lagers that just seem to want to be a fruity IPA or something.
They've just taken that lager style, tried to be a little bit more experimental with it, make it a little bit bigger, perhaps. Yeah. Nice.
Again, surprised by the appliness. I really want this to be more carbonated than it is.
You want something that maybe pops as well.
I think that's just because my personal when I want a lager, it's because I want something really like effervescent, like really carbonated.
Yeah.
But the taste is quite good.
Nice, good. You were saying, I don't know whether it's just because you said it, but this Saltaire, the Velocity, getting a lot of citrus on the nose, but it does give me just a little bit of a. It's kind of almost feels like it's almost edging towards sort of saison-y, maybe farmhouse, little bit kind of appley, just something that's maybe slightly spiced in there. And I don't know whether that's just the carbonation pushing all of that citrus towards me, and then something else going on with the malts or something, just to bring me something else. But this just has this little hint of something else to it as well. Jesus, that was very unexpected.
Really?
The head on it's gone down a lot, but it was right up on the top of the glass when I poured. A little orangey, not quite, little hazy. You can't quite see my thumb at the back there, but it's not thick. It's just a little opaque. But that flavour. Light, citrusy, refreshing. Definitely citrusy. But at the back end, it's got this bitterness that is edging on something that's slightly fermented for a bit too long. Which is, I think, maybe why I'm getting that. It's why I'm getting that maybe farmhouse kind of little bit sort of cidery kind of nature on the nose. I'm getting this not great aftertaste with this.
That's a shame.
I expected something a little bit more like you have. A session IPA, but something that's that is citrusy, something that's maybe edging a little bit more towards a sort of a lagery beer. But
right.
This is just, I don't know, that end is just not that nice. It's a little bit sort of edging between a bit too fragrant, a little bit too floral, a little bit perfumey almost, and that kind of slightly too fermented, fruity, appley kind of end on it. And it's just, it clashes. So you're hit straight away with a little bit of citrus, and then this big kind of awkward flavour kicks in. I don't know if this is meant to be like this. I wouldn't say it's light. Wouldn't particularly say it's refreshing, but it's definitely citrusy. Unlike yours, which was, planet saving, crisp. You know, it had hit all of those. Mine's not quite there. I shall have to drink this, let it sit for a minute and investigate some. Let it sit whilst we chat. So, this week, as our listeners know, we have changed our recording date. So currently it's Tuesday, but I've still been putting episodes out on Friday. It's quite nice for me to have a little bit of time rather than pushing them. You know, trying to push them the next day and trying to fit them in the morning. But
everything okay?
Yeah, no, sorry. I thought you put your finger up because you wanted me to wait for something.
Oh, I thought I heard echo. But then it didn't seem to come through again. This happened last time, where it
did like happen last time.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
I have checked everything. Everything is recording correctly. We haven't got to disappear for 1 second to the listeners.
So timestamp on this fuck up.
No, it's not coming out. It's fine. Roll straight through it. So, yeah, it's been quite nice for me having that little bit of a break and being able to edit a little bit slower, especially with last week's episode where we had a little bit of an issue on the audio not recording properly and me having to dub over things and there being a little bit of an echo and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So, what that means is that this episode's going up on Friday, so I can talk about the game I've been playing because I'm embargoed until Friday to not do put any words down or say anything about it. But this will come out, hopefully, or I'll make sure it comes out after the embargo lifts. So probably normal time on Friday afternoon for us in the UK. And I've been playing a game called Sparklite, which I wrote down on my phone who makes it. I think they're called Red Blue Games. I will just double check. Let's have a look who it's by. It is by Red Blue Games. There we go. Published, I think, by Merge Games. So I got given a code for this, and I liked it. I'll start off by saying that. Good review. I liked it. So it's quite a short game. It's a bit of a sort of a top-down roguelite, very similar to something like Moonlighter. It gave me kind of like little hints of something like Stardew Valley, just in terms of like the music and kind of how you move between screens. You know, you're essentially presented with a screen, and your character, I think she's called Ada. She can move around the screen. Whether she goes to the top, bottom, left, or right, she moves into the next screen. And essentially, you are moving around this world.
Yeah.
You are fighting enemies, knocking down or blowing up rocks and things to collect sparks, and you use these as the primary currency in the game. It is a roguelike, so anytime you die, you just get taken back to the airship that you're on, and then you can go back down and do another run. And it is it's procedurally generated. They call it fracturing in the game. So basically, when you die, the land will shift. And when you go back down, it's not going to be the same map as it was last time. So things have moved position. You know, maybe a character that you thought was over here is now somewhere completely different. Enemies are all sort of randomized around. You're trying to move through each of the different sort of environments on this one giant world map. And to do that, you need to defeat a little boss at the end. And it all pulls together quite nicely to give me quite a satisfying little loop. So I found, you know, quite quickly I'd die and I'd go back up and I'd come back down and I'd make it maybe 5 or 6 screens, and then I'd collected some sparks, Sparklite, and gone back up and upgraded myself. Whether that was finding a little... It's not quite a dungeon. You find sort of rooms in which you find a blueprint and you get to test out a new item. And then once you get to the end of this sort of set of rooms or this building, you then you get the blueprint at the end rather than being able to take the item with you. So you then have to use Sparklite to purchase it up at a workshop up in the floating airship sort of town that you're in. And it's got a few different little upgrade kind of things around that. You can find more health and patches that you put on yourself, so you might get a quarter heart So your health increases by a quarter heart if you've put that patch on. And later as you move through the game, you can combine patches and things like that. And obviously collecting Sparklite all the time on every single run that you do to just continuously upgrade yourself.
Are upgrades basically they just infinitely stack, or is there some notion of like only so many slots or?
So it's it's a slot sort of system. So you get I think it's to start with, it's a 3x3 grid. As almost like a patch, and I don't know whether this is a patch on your person or where this is, but you're presented with a screen. It's a 3x3 grid, and a quarter heart will take up 1 square, and so you can have 9 upgrades, 9 single upgrades. Some of them, so increased damage with your wrench, because that's what you're running around hitting things with, a big wrench. That takes up 4 squares. So then you can only have another 5 around the, around on that
if
corner.
it's a 4 square box, then even you couldn't actually put 2 4 square upgrades in a 9 grid because there's no way to.
Exactly. Yep.
So it's Resident Evil inventory management.
Almost, yes, yeah. I did find that. It makes you think a little bit about what you kind of want to upgrade first. So I saved up Sparklite knowing that I wanted to upgrade the patch, and it increased then to, I think, a 4x4 square.
Right.
So I had 16 tiles then to play with. Plus, if you have a bronze patch with a wrench on, which is more damage, and you get another bronze patch with a wrench on, you can combine those to a silver patch, to one single silver patch, and then you can use that. So you're constantly kind of building up your power and all of these sorts of things. And as you're moving through these different areas, fighting all these enemies, and then getting to the bosses, I think I found that that difficulty arc dropped quite a lot. That actually the first area I found quite hard. The second area, when I'd managed to get into there, I struggled with for maybe 2 or 3 runs, and then suddenly I'd upgraded enough that I was just flying through, and I flew through that area, I flew through the third area, I flew through the fourth area as well, and defeated the second, third and fourth bosses all in the same run.
Wow.
Which was unexpected. I'd hit the second boss a couple of times before. I think that was maybe the toughest one because I couldn't quite figure out the pattern that he was doing for me to attack him on, and found I was dying quite quickly on him. But suddenly once I'd hit that, I did him, and I was in the mindset then of how kind of the bosses work, what kind of patterns they have, where you have to hit them and things, to sort of see and be able to easily kind of get through each of them. The final boss is tough, so I found that a bit of a, not a slog, but I definitely felt a few kind of cheap deaths during that final boss encounter. But overall, as a package, it's really nice. I mean, it definitely reminds me of Moonlighter. It's got a similar kind of art style to it. Similar in sort of like the music. It's that kind of very whimsical fairy tale-esque kind of land with a little bit of a steampunk kind of vibe to it slightly, and it kind of just gives you enough. And I don't know how many hours I played. I got it yesterday. I played played a few hours yesterday. Played a couple of hours. I had a little bit of a longer lunch break today than I should have, and finished it out because I knew I was getting towards the end. I'm like, right, I know I'm pushing through with this, but maybe only 4 hours perhaps it took me to do it. Obviously, you could stay in that world and uncover every tile on the world map once you've unlocked everything, and kill every enemy and go in every kind of little building in an enemy base and those sorts of things. So it does have a little bit to it that you could kind of stay a little bit longer than you need to on that path through, or at least the way I found it, the path and the upgrades that got me strong enough to then go and defeat all of those bosses, and again that next jump up to the final boss. But it's a really kind of easy kind of game to kind of get your head around, and it does invoke a little bit of, of kind of 2D Zelda, those adventure games with the upgrades, with a few different items that you can use. It's maybe not quite as deep as either Moonlighter or or one of the 2D Zelda games. You're not going into dungeons with the items that you found and having to use them. A lot of the time, you will use one of the items that you've got from a blueprint to just pop up and open a box or unlock something, and that will then give you an upgrade or something like that. So you want them to be able to get stronger, but they're not quite on the you don't need them, essentially,
right?
Or at least that's how it felt as I was playing through. I may be wrong, maybe wrong in that. At one point, you do get an item which allows you to go into deeper water, so you may get like a little pool of water on your screen, and you can go into the deeper, the darker part of it. And at some points there might be a whirlpool, and that will take you to a little underground cave, which might have an upgrade or something like that in. And I can't remember if maybe that one I had to use a whirlpool at some point. Maybe not. I don't exactly remember. But it does. This game does just do kind of enough to keep me hooked.
Right.
Really. And one, there's not an embargo until Friday. I didn't have to talk about it tonight. I could have written something later in the week, but I've stuck at it and I've pushed through because I felt like I wanted to.
So what was the name again? Sorry.
Sparklite, but not. It's one word and it's Lite for light.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I just was curious what it retailed for. Obviously, there won't be reviews because it's under embargo. But
yes.
And did you get this on PS4 or computer?
I did get it on PS4. Yeah.
Because it's out for all the things. Looks like.
Is it?
It comes out on the 14th.
On Friday.
And well, that's real annoying. Sorry. The Steam page for it just says it's coming out. It doesn't actually tell you how much it's coming out for.
Well, that doesn't help.
Nope.
I don't know either.
Sure doesn't. They are broadcasting, so I don't know why there's an embargo.
I don't know either.
They're like the devs are playing right now.
It does release on the 14th, which would be Thursday. Actually, I think the embargo might be Thursday. Actually, I'm saying Friday. I think the embargo might be Thursday. Any kind of recorded footage and things, I think, are Friday. I think.
It comes out on Switch as well, and
yep, yeah, it's on everything, I believe.
And the Switch costs, because my default. Oh, this is so annoying. It's $21 Canadian. And I'm gonna stop looking because I thought this would be a cheeky side search, and it's turning out to be a big pain in my ass. Yes, for Sparklite.
Yeah, even though I just searched Sparklite PS4 and the store doesn't
have it yet.
The store doesn't pop up. I don't know why is it?
Okay, it's 20 quid.
Okay.
On base.com it's 20 quid. On 365games.co.uk the signature edition is 40. 38.
Yeah.
So it's a mid-tier / mid-tier, I guess.
Yeah, it feels a little bit smaller than that. It feels a little bit sort of a little more indie. There are several bugs in it, which hopefully will be kind of ironed out a couple of times. Sorry.
What types of sorry?
So there was one where you go into sort of like an enemy base, and you come onto the screen and you have to either defeat some enemies or do a little bit of light platforming to hit a switch and then jump through a hole in the ground to go to the next kind of level down.
Right.
And there was one point where there's two big burly kind of pig mutant enemies, and every time I encountered the two of them together, if you get one it's fine, but if I encountered the two of them together, one would sort of its movement would be bugged, and it would kind of float across the screen a little bit rather than kind of walking, and then suddenly it would appear off screen, and you could maybe see just its foot, or if it was down the bottom, just its head or something, and then there's no way of me being able to get to that. So I just had to quit and start again. And that only happened maybe 2 or 3 times, I think. They are kind of the more egregious sort of bugs that I found. There's a couple of sort of sound issues and things, but I would imagine that these are easy things for them to patch out, kind of, with a day one patch. So it's kind of not really to the detriment of the game, with it being a bit more of a, with it being a roguelike. I didn't really feel like a huge amount of my progress had been hampered. It had only been maybe the last, say, 5-10 minutes on a run through that I'd lost, and I'd lost those sparks. With it being a roguelike, all of your upgrades and sort of your power progress remains across every run. It's only the sparks. No, you take the sparks back with you. Actually, sorry. It's only the additional kind of little items or power ups that you pick up through the world on the run that come out of you on the end. So yeah, there's a few little things. You can set a bomb which will sort of explode rocks or trap enemies. You can fire off I don't know what you'd call it, but it essentially shoots a projectile in the 8 cardinal kind of directions, and there's a few different things. It's stuff that you can heal yourself or become a little bit faster, stuff like this, which only lasts a little bit of time, and they all disappear when you die, basically. But they're kind of a little bit key in building up, especially for the boss battles. It's a little bit better to have a few of those heals with you, or to be able to do a little bit of extra damage at certain times. Pop it and just be able to wail on the boss for a little bit. So they become important in the run, and I think I found that when I was hitting the second boss, and I think I probably died 3 or 4 times on him, that I knew where he was roughly on the map, so I could, because I did something and I got a patch, like a little upgrade that I could put on my little board that showed me where all of the boss buildings were. So I knew that he was over here, so I could kind of try and make my way up to that and jump in to try and defeat him. And what I wasn't doing was going around collecting things, doing stuff, and having these little power-ups to use during the battle, or going around and becoming a little bit more powerful and finding different patches to be able to put on. And I think it was only then, once I'd figured that out, that I did a run, I hit the boss, I beat him, and then I sort of played that same way through the other 2 areas, through 3 and 4, which allowed me then to very easily go in and beat those bosses. So it's a neat little package. It's fun. It held me, and it retained me for its length. I wanted to play it. I wanted to get through it. So yeah,
it sounds like the only time you felt like you might want to stop but didn't was because you were close to the end. I think that's the right balance for a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's one of those, especially with it coming out at the end of this week, sandwiched in between a few big games.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at its price point. I thought it might have been, if not sort of $12.99, $15.99, maybe a little bit less. Down towards that kind of range. But it's definitely a nice kind of palate cleanser as well. If you are playing one of these bigger games, if you're on Death Stranding at the moment, or if you know that you're going to be playing whatever the Star Wars game is, Fallen
Empire,
Fallen Jedi, Fallen Order, Fallen lightsabers, Fallen Yoda.
Fallen Order. It was Fallen Order.
It is Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Oh. If it was Fallen Yoda, it's just him on the seagulls video, going over constantly. Yeah, it would be a good game to play in between these big releases.
Yeah,
basically. Not that I have been or will be playing these big releases at the moment. So that's fine.
It is fine. Life indeed does go on.
It does. I am currently writing a little piece, hopefully for the end of the week, all about my FOMO for Death Stranding, and for Fallen Order as well. Obviously, being a massive Star Wars nerd, I'm not quite as hyped for it, but
yeah, I was like, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, and I think between the last two Battlefronts, I just stopped caring about Star Wars games. I mean, I was super hyped for them. I mean, I'm not playing a lot of games now, as we all know. But like, I'm surprised that this looks pretty polished, and I'm like, eh.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Charting through the older games and making my lists on that app, I kind of have not revisited the Star Wars games in terms of playing them again, but revisited them in a little bit of in the memory palace, finding them on the app and listing them in the on the console that I played them on, whether I beat them or not. So I'm thinking about them again. Actually, like Rogue Squadron, fantastic. Dark Forces was good. Various kind of Star Wars games that I know that I played. Oh, what's it called? Which one is it with Starkiller? Force Unleashed. Oh, I love that game. That game was really good. It wasn't
Number 2
wasn't great.
It did what you wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly it. It wasn't great, but it did what you wanted.
I mean, the Dark Forces and then Jedi Academy games were great as a series. I tried to play Dark Forces 1 the other month, and I was like, yes, this is why you can't be a completionist, because this game is garbage. I mean, it's one of the first games that you had mouse look or whatever, or something like that. Oh, was
it?
Yeah, something like that. But like, no amount of good plot could make me endure that type of game again. There's just better uses of my time.
I think they've, at least from what I've seen of Fallen Order, they've definitely made a Star Wars game in that kind of that action platformer format, whether it's a little more, some people have said, a little bit sort of Metroidvania-esque in terms of having to travel back to different places once you've unlocked certain powers and things like that to uncover stuff or progress. They definitely seem to have picked the kind of style that suits a big Star Wars release now. Rather than say, they pushed with Battlefront. First-person shooters were hot when Battlefront was kind of rebooted. They wanted in on that. Of course they did, so they rebooted Battlefront and it didn't go as planned. And now we're getting a bit more of a third-person actiony, somewhere in between kind of like Uncharted or... I don't think it's quite as much like that, but some of the things I've heard about sort of like the climbing, the traversal, the platforming does sound a little bit sort of Uncharted.
Oh, interesting. I haven't actually heard anything explicit about it. I kind of just... It's just not been on my radar, to be honest. Yeah, and I know it's there, and I don't care, and so it's not like if someone shares a link on a review, I'm like, eh. I don't even think I'll watch the last trailer.
Did I? I don't know.
I probably did. I watched a trailer. I just don't know if there's more than one.
Yeah, and it's almost the. So I want to play it. I am excited for it, but in a very kind of like.
I'll get to it.
I will get to it exactly. Unlike Death Stranding, which I am trying not to consume anything of. And consume everything of that I possibly can. I don't want any of the stories spoiled for me. It's going to be batshit crazy, completely all over the place, incomprehensible. Who fucking knows?
Yeah.
People who finished it obviously know. But I don't want that spoiled for me. I love Metal Gear. I enjoy Kojima's games. He is fucking absurd. He is insane. He does some absolutely ridiculous things. But I like it. And
it's your brand of ridiculousness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sort of just sat here like, can't afford Death Stranding right now. Yeah. Really want to play it. Let's have a look at some people not playing it but talking about it. And Tim Rogers at Kotaku has done, I think I've watched about 2 hours of him just talking about the game. Not playing it.
Revealing anything?
Absolutely. And he does, I think his review is an hour long.
Wow.
And it's worth a listen because obviously he's only showing. No, and he doesn't spoil it. He's only showing like stock footage, but he really gets into it. And he's like, I have to review this as a game. I have to review it as a book. I have to review it as this. And he really goes into. I think he reviews it as a movie. I think it's five reviews rolled into one.
Wow.
And he splits it. Obviously, he splits it up very well. But he goes into sort of like the literature that this is comparable to, the kind of the movies that this is comparable to, like really gets into how Death Stranding kind of feels and was conceived, and sort of the things that Kojima has taken from other staff. And he compares it to a couple of sort of Japanese authors, Murakami being one. I've read several of his books,
really?
and there's this link
Murakami.
between exactly. This is the thing.
I mean, that's gotten me more excited for this game. I kind of feel like you and Lucy were much more up for this game than I was. I was sort of like, I'll let you guys figure out how bad shit it is, and then maybe I'll take a look afterwards. And
I think Lucy's now gone the opposite way. And she's very much like, no, keep your delivery boy fucking
baby
simulator
backpack,
away from me. Whereas I'm definitely thinking,
please.
No, I can't. And I've hovered over the
purchase
the buy now button a couple of times, but it's still up at about £48. I'm thinking, I can't. I'm not quite there. I might wait till see if it drops down. You know, if it edges towards 35, something like that. Maybe a Black Friday sort of deal I might find. Otherwise, it's going on the Christmas list, I think.
That's fair.
So, you ready for another bit?
Yeah, I am, and I have. By the way, last beer was 5%. It was a 5% craft lager. Now I have a thing called IPA 6%.
Beardo.
Bye, Beardo. So I'm gonna, because I have to. Cultivating the finest facial furniture is a complex task. The discerning beard wearer deserves a tipple of hoppy intensity to complement their efforts. Cut through the fuzz with hits of a fruity citrus zing, an IPA for serious beardos. And then it says, because beards are an international concern, best before and see neck. Weird. And then 6%, oof, that'll put hairs on your chest. And then they make fun of the pregnancy warning, I think. Not everyone suits the beard. It's actually just pointing to the ingredients in German, so I think they fucked up their graphic design. Will it focus?
Not quite.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, they're pointing. Yeah.
Not everyone suits.
The allergens.
Oh, is it the allergens?
Yeah.
That's clever. I take it back. I'm just slow. So while I remember that I need to open bottles with a bottle opener, why don't you tell me what you've got?
I certainly will. I am drinking a beer from Õllenaut. They are a brewery from Estonia. I've had a couple of their beers before, but this is I think it must be Suitsu. Suitsu Porter, which is a smoked robust porter. It is 5.4%. I do not get very much flavour text because can't speak Estonian. So there's some stuff on here I can't pick out, but it's got barley malt, wheat malt as the allergens. There you go. It does say a little bit robust and smoky. Sorry, robust and smoky ale, powerful yet gentle enough to enjoy the quiet night by the fire. Goes well with roasted meats, chocolate cake, and aged Gouda, which I don't have any of right now. So I can't have those with it, but I'll have it by itself. I think it's the Suitsu Porter. At least that's how it is how it's spelled, Suitsu. So we shall see.
Sorry. I just realized I was using the screen as a backdrop for the picture and took a picture that included the lens. Because the camera's looking at me, capturing me, taking the picture, and displaying it on what I'm taking. I'm the worst. Sorry, you were saying things. And
Brilliant. Oh, I've been in the mood for stouts and porters, obviously.
Yeah.
With the darker nights and the rain and the misery, all coming in for everybody at this lovely political time of year. So yeah, it's I've got a few left of the little delivery I had last week, but this is the one that spoke to me the most to drink this evening. So, how is yours? Have you had a chance to sup it yet?
I was waiting.
Through the lens. Supped through the lens.
Maybe it's just my nose today, because I'm getting a bit of apple this too.
Ooh, is it the glass perhaps? What was in the glass last?
Hopefully cleaning water. It's a new glass.
Okay. Oh, it's a pint glass. Hooray!
Yeah, so I think actually you and the new housemate brought pint glasses, which are replacing the ones that mysteriously disappeared. So now I have multiple pint glasses that don't have branding that I can use to take pictures.
Yeah.
It also kind of looks like apple juice. It's nice and amber. Really clear though. Like I'm flipping you off. Flipping you off. Mild head, but it's quite creamy looking. I don't know if you can. The camera will pick it up.
I think I've had this before, but like as soon as I think it was in Morrison's years and years ago, probably when they first started doing beer. So I've got no idea what I thought of it.
It's thinner than I was expecting, especially with that head. It's mild. It is a bit citrusy. The mouth feels really interesting.
Yeah.
Given that it's thin, despite being 6%, it does have a bit of viscosity to it, so it does do some coating on the tongue. But there's like a maltiness I wasn't expecting. Like it finishes malt forward, where I was expecting, more hop bitterness at the end. It's actually, kind of gives you a bit of biscuit, and then it kind of just fades to a slight dryness in the mouth, and that citrus is kind of disappears mid sort of malty point in the flavor curve. So when the malt kicks forward, the citrus kind of just disappears and never comes back. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a hoppiness to it, but the bitter hoppy taste is very much in the back seat. I had to look for it and be like, it's there the whole time. It's just really low, which is quite surprising for an IPA.
I know it's the brewery Beardo. Is there any other information on there?
It's Robinson Brewery in Stockport.
Okay.
So what I don't know is, so I'm assuming Beardo
is the name
of the IPA. It's very confusing because the labeling you can't see. On the neck, there's the label. It says 6% and IPA spelled with a small I and then a dot, then a capital P dot A, and then the main label just says Beardo. So it seems like it would be the IPA from Beardo, but it's made by Frederick Robertson Limited in Stockport, which is a brewer. I don't know if this is a sub-brand type thing or brewed on behalf of, or they just their IPA is called Beardo.
Yeah, I mean, so I know the name Robinson, but I can't tell you any beers that they make. Just having a quick look.
It's the name of Robinson Brewery's IPA called Beardo. Because I did a quick Google, and Robinson Brewery has it on their list. I don't. Oh my God, Ben! Do you know what else they make?
I don't know. I'm just about to look at that.
They make the Trooper.
Oh, they do. They make the bloody fucking. Iron Maiden beers. Oh, like loads of stuff. They make loads of stuff. They make
that's
loads of
super
stuff.
Interesting. Who knew? I didn't know that. Yeah.
Lots of Iron Maiden beers as well.
Oh,
Trooper, Day of the Dead, Sun and Steel, or at least they've.
Yeah, they definitely have done more things with the Trooper brand, but also some of the other beers I saw in the co-op, which I thought were from a different brewery, because of course the labeling scheme was different. Where the Mash Out Pale Ale by them was there. I think even the Old Tom was there as well, and I just thought these were different things, but clearly they figured out go to co-op, still like they have different branding looks, so then these all seem like totally different beers, but they're actually just a shelf from the same brewer.
Yeah. I do enjoy their, if you go on their About Us, I do enjoy the photo of I would assume that's the family that run it.
Oh, wow.
All the different characters in there. Like who's running it, who does what, who just hangs out in the pub.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of stories there that I can only speculate on. I know nothing about these people. It would be rude to say otherwise.
I like how it's like combining original recipe heritage brews such as Old Tom, first brewed in 1899, and Unicorn, legendary since 1896, with innovative young ales such as Dizzy Blonde, Wizard, and Trooper, created by Iron Maiden. Is what differentiates Robinson's forward thinking with the best traditions. Good lord, what a hilarious! I hope I didn't take too bad on that, but it's literally Trooper in all caps, and like the whole thing is just this like very tidy business sounding thing, and they're just like, also we did this with Iron Maiden.
Yeah. Oh, I've had some of my beer,
and
it's got a lovely nose, very very smoky, and then on the taste. You get this nice sweetness almost straight away, which gives way to a very light smokiness. The nose was quite a big sort of smoked flavour, and then on the taste, it's dialed down a little bit and paired with this sweetness that kicks off, and it leaves you with a nice mix. So the smokiness dries me out and is sort of towards the back of the mouth, and that sweetness is right at the front, right on the front of the tongue as well. Like that difference in mouthfeel and what's kind of left flavour wise just sort of plays quite well together. Obviously, being a porter, it's super dark.
Oh yeah,
a light, very light brown head, but it sticks around on the glass.
It's also so opaque, like between the brightness of like its opacity and the brightness of the light you were holding it close to, I could literally count the bricks on your wall. Yeah,
very much. It is and you can see the waveforms in Audacity on the other side as they move across. It's very very opaque. But that's super easy. That's really really nice. Somewhere in there, I was expecting maybe a little bit more of a bitterness towards the end, but it's really, it's only, what was it, 5.4.
Okay.
So it is quite light. That comes across as well in its viscosity. It's a little bit lighter. It's nice and smooth, but it's a little bit lighter. Doesn't quite have a creaminess to it, but it's a porter. It's not a stout. So I'm getting a little bit of sweetness. It's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit wetter. Sort of mouthfeel wise, viscosity wise, and it's got this nice lingering combination of sweetness and smokiness as well. So just a well-made beer that I'm enjoying very much. I'm going to continue to do so as we move on to what we're talking about next, Aadil.
Oh, what is that, Ben?
Well, I'll let you tell us.
Yeah, okay, I was waiting. I was like, how's he going to do this rehand back? I thought, so Thingy comes out, Stadia is coming out.
Yes, Google Stadia.
On November 19th. And they've released their launch library. So I thought we would go through the entire thing, because it's a new It's a new console. We'll spend a few hours talking about all the things it can do. Oh wait, it's 12 games. So we're gonna go through all of them. And fuck it, we're gonna go through it in alphabetical order. There's a couple I had to look up, so I'm hoping you might have some information on them. Otherwise, I will do some quick redigging. But coming in at number 1, it's Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Never played it.
Me neither, but it came out a year ago.
Yeah, exactly a year ago. And it's interesting that they've got this and they haven't got Origins. Obviously, that came out only the year previous to that, after they'd had a year off, and Assassin's Creed are taking another year off this year. So there's no mainline Assassin's Creed. I don't think there's any Assassin's Creed game at all this year.
And so they've also they've confirmed 14 additional titles by the end of 2019, and Origins is not one of those either.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's a bit odd. I mean, the problem is that when they announced Stadia in like June, having something like Odyssey seems reasonable.
Yeah.
The fact that November comes along and it's like, well, we've got Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and then we're like,
almost 6 months
story,
later.
Bro. Yeah. Along those lines, Destiny 2, the collection.
Free almost everywhere.
Not the whole collection.
Okay.
You get all the expansions. But yes, the fact that Destiny has recently gone free to play on all platforms, up to the point of expansion number 3 or whatever it is. I don't actually remember where the border is, but the fact that you can just get it for free.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a bad selling point, even if you are getting the non-free.
Yeah, I mean, good for Bungie. Good for Bungie. I would imagine that deal was done after they split with Activision, unless there are any other Activision games on that list, which I don't think there are.
No.
So yeah, it would have been a nice little boost for Bungie as well, I would imagine.
I also suspect they made that deal, given that the announcement was in June, I think, is the Stadia, or was it August, whenever Stadia's had their big thing?
It was around E3 time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was around June, and I can't remember when Bungie left Activision, but that must be the start of the year, perhaps.
Was it that early?
Maybe. Anyway.
So, oops.
We've gone from A to D.
Yeah.
So
now we're going to G.
Oh, there's no Battleborn. There's no...
Oh man, Battleborn would do amazing. We found old servers and we hooked them into our cloud, and now you can play that game you liked, you 4 people.
Yeah, I would have... it's a very odd... It's going to be a very odd list that people are listening to, and there's lots of games I would have thought would have come out, and they may be these 14 additional games, something like maybe Borderlands 3, I would have thought would have come with this.
Okay, sure. Now we're going to have to talk briefly about the 14 additional titles. Because Borderlands 3 is one of them.
Okay, we'll come to those later. We can deal with those later, yeah.
So the next game is Gylt. Gylt. It is set in a creepy and melancholic world. Gylt is an eerie story mixing fantasy and reality in a surrealist place where your nightmares become reality. Hide from terrible creatures or confront them as you find your way through the challenges of this wicked world.
So I think
it just came out.
This is this for Google Stadia? Was it made for Stadia?
Oh, good question.
Because I think it's to...
You're right, yeah.
It is Tequila Works, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is only a Stadia. It's a Stadia exclusive.
Yeah.
A Stadia exclusive.
I would imagine it
will probably not stay exclusive.
Probably a smaller title. The previous games Tequila Works have done, like Rhyme, have been good, but they have been slightly smaller experiences. I don't know, Rhyme probably clocked in around the 6 to 8 hour kind of mark, something like that. So not quite as big as, say,
they also did
your
the
Destinies.
Sexy
Oh, did they? I own that, but I don't think I've ever played it.
Yeah. Me too.
I definitely own it.
And they've done Deadlight, Director's Cut.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think this screams strategic, right?
Yeah,
We need
absolutely.
to have some indie game bona fide.
Yep.
We'll do an exclusive.
Yeah.
The thing is, I haven't seen almost nothing about this game press wise, even in the
Yeah.
indie-ish stuff. So it's like you want people to want to play it, such that they have to get Stadia, versus just checking the indie game box. And it feels
Yeah.
like marketing wise, it's the checking of the box because again, like
It
I
was,
don't know anything about it.
yeah, it was included in obviously in their lineup when they started to promote this. I think they gave some footage on it, a little trailer on it, and it looked interesting. But that's kind of it. That's about all we've heard. And obviously it's then not in the same circles of lots of other indie games which are coming to either PC, the massive audience that's already on PC that play indie games, or any of the consoles. It's not funded by sort of exclusively by any of the consoles, so you don't already have that big player base to kind of draw on for a new indie title. It's kind of, they're relying on early adopters, essentially founders. Is it the founders pack that they had out for people to be able to purchase and things? They're relying on those people to kind of to play this, and I can't see it being a seller. I can't see it being a system seller.
No, I think if it, like I said, if they wanted to be a system seller, they would have had to like actually tell people about it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, interesting. And like again, I did the minimal amount of research because that's the kind of person I am. Don't tell the people I'm literally trying to get jobs as an academic researcher. But you play this little girl, and it's got a neat aesthetic. It looks cool. I'm curious about it, but that's where it sort of stops, is curiosity. This is a standard Ben favorite in the J category, Just Dance 2020.
Another interesting one. Ubisoft just threw it at them, like, yeah, have this. Don't worry about it.
I think it's also the way, so because I know the list, I really think that a lot of it is, look, we have, name a genre, we've got a game. But it's like, you don't want to sell this as an all-around thing. You want to sell it to people specifically. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear the cat in the background. Yeah. I'm just gonna stand up. You can tell me why you love it while I open the door for the yelly face cat. Come on.
I think, have I ever played a Just Dance game? I think I may have played a couple of rounds at someone's house. Maybe. Yeah, I think I have. I think I have played Just Dance maybe once or twice.
I definitely have not.
It's always an interesting way for them to launch into, their conferences for E3 for Ubisoft, and it's always that bit you're like, well, this is clearly the Just Dance bit. Sure, let's move on quickly, please.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thank God the whole conference isn't Just Dance.
What's next?
A game called Kine, Kine. This is one of the ones I didn't know about.
No, I don't either.
It's a challenging 3D puzzle game about music, machines, and dreams.
Ooh, is it a Stadia exclusive?
It is on. I got that brief description from the Epic Game Store.
Okay, not good. Not a Stadia exclusive then.
It's also on Steam.
Right.
It came out last month. Oh, it's on all the things. So it's on Switch.
Okay.
Switch, Xbone, PS4, Stadia, Epic. Oh, interesting. Their announced trailer doesn't have Steam. But
yeah, it's I have seen this advertised on Epic Store.
Oh, I see. It's not out. It's not out. So they have a Steam page, but they don't have a price or anything because it's not out there yet.
So,
but
Epic exclusive PC wise at the moment. Yeah.
It looks real interesting. Again.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of the music. Like I've just looked at the quick trailer. It's definitely an interesting platformer. Whatever you are, you like extend and change your shape in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
You're like a little robot thing. Cool. Let's check the puzzle game box.
Yeah.
And then a thing that every time I see it in print, I think it says Mortal Kombat 2, but it's in fact Mortal Kombat 11. But I kind of wish it was Mortal Kombat 2.
Yeah.
I would like to try Mortal Kombat 2 on the Stadia for a long time, because I hadn't console gamed in ages, and when I first got a PS3, it was because I had a home theater with a nice projector, and it was the best Blu-ray player you could get.
Yeah.
And I had so few games for a while, because I just didn't think of it as a gaming device, but I got Mortal Kombat 2. So for a while, my most played game on the PS3 was Mortal Kombat 2.
Nice.
Yeah, so Mortal Kombat 2/11. Again, fighting games seems like checking a box, but also I don't know enough about the world of fighting games, but this seems all right.
Yeah, released this year.
But earlier?
Yeah, I mean, yes, earlier. But at least it is a 2019 game. I would imagine that the scene on Mortal Kombat 11 is still there, that there are people playing it, but
yeah.
they're obviously already playing it on their
this is the thing
choice.
For these more online multiplayer games, they've said nothing about being able to play with people on other platforms, which suggests that you would be moving to Stadia to play Mortal Kombat 11 with the 4 other people who have a Stadia and want to play Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah, that's interesting.
This is why I thought going through the list would be an actually interesting exercise. Like thinking about how these games work, and only early adopters, and being another separate silo.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's. Oof.
It'd be interesting to see what they can do, whether they can tap into other people playing other people. But then there's a lot of, can they get those other PC players? But it's how it then talks to each other, how well that streaming service works, talking to other people on a hard drive based thing. I don't know how that works. That's way above my pay grade.
But also, it's not a PC, so you're not guaranteed to line up with PC silo either.
True. Yeah.
Here's the big one, which mostly reminded me. Red Dead Redemption 2. That's a big game. It's a big game that's old, but it doesn't matter. It's a huge game.
Yeah, absolutely.
What it did tell me though was, wait, what? How do they have Red Dead Redemption 2? Oh, they finally released the Windows PC version of Red Dead Redemption 2. Thanks, Stadia announcement. Now I know I can play that game on a PC.
I'd look into that a little bit more, because everything I read about the PC release just keeps telling me it's a little bit broken.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Every time Rockstar releases a PC version.
So it'll be interesting to see what base they are using for this version of Red Dead Redemption 2. If it is the PC code that they are using on there.
So the looking at the list, I don't think there's a single game that isn't a PC game.
Yes. Yeah.
Which suggests that. So I mean, I was speaking in jest with respect to the silos, because they're trying to say it's its own platform. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's just kind of like what the NVIDIA Now was doing, which is we've got computers running PC games. They're really nice computers. They run PC games really well. They send it to you. In which case, it'll be the broken version of Red Dead Redemption 2, which is why I thought that was interesting, because I also found out that RDR was just not great on the Windows experience. But if you're like, oh, I didn't want a PS4 or an Xbox, but I really want to play Red Dead Redemption 2. Cool, I'm getting a console thing. It'll be the console thing version. No, it's probably going to be the shitty PC version.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it's again this like, I'm not clear what's under the hood, and like unless you pay enough attention to these things, you can like infer. Oh yeah, this is a PC. Whatever it's doing is doing PC stuff. In which case, I might not want to play Red Dead Redemption 2 on this thing, but the average person might not do that, and that sucks.
Yeah.
Because they're not saying we stream PC games. We're a magic new platform.
So again, I think Stadia isn't really going to sell very well to people that aren't already on multiple platforms, and they have multiple systems to play with. I don't think Stadia currently is being spoken about in the same way that if someone who hasn't got a console, they're still on that old 360, and this Christmas they say, hey mum, I want a new console, they're not getting Stadia because they don't fucking know about it.
Yeah, I mean, but this is, I guess, the broader thing, which is, except for people who just want the shiny thing, what the fuck is this for? Like
Google executives, mate. That's who this is for.
We'll pause because let's just get through the last chunk of the list.
Yes.
Rise of the Tomb Raider.
We can hit 3 of them now, can't we? Really?
Yeah, I was gonna say, and if we skip a bit, we could say Shadow of the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, and the final one on the alphabetical list, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. What I want to know is why can't I get the Definitive Edition of the Rise of the Tomb Raider? I don't think they released it.
They are releasing it though, aren't they? That is going to come out, I believe. There is going to be a Definitive Edition. Yeah.
These are again. It feels like trying to capture like third-person platform puzzle adventure game, and they clearly made a deal. Fuck, we'll take all 3. But
makes sense to have all 3 of the games to see out that story in full. I can see someone who getting Stadia who hasn't played these playing all 3
all the way through.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, that's one of the reasons why I found it odd that they didn't have Assassin's Creed Origins.
Yeah, good, yeah. Because Origins and Odyssey do sort of pair together in ways that...
Yes, I believe, having not played Odyssey, I understand that the present-day stuff is the same girl, it's the same protagonist.
Yeah.
So that storyline continues on, and you may start Odyssey, and I don't know how they split that, being in ancient Greece versus the real, the present day sort of stuff. I don't know how well that.
I'm getting ancient Greece is fake.
Yeah, I know. That's why I corrected myself. Not real.
I know, but I like the idea.
Assassin's Creed Ancient Greece is definitely fake, especially with all their Atlantis stuff that they threw in. And
we know they didn't have that kind of resolution then.
Yeah, and everything was in black and white back then as well. Anyway, so. I just found it odd that they'd include these 3 and not include Origins. But the Tomb Raider games are a lot shorter. You could probably bang out all 3 of these games in exactly the same. Well, not exactly, sorry, not at all. But in the same amount of time that you could get through Odyssey.
Right.
So the Assassin's Creed games are a bit bigger of an experience.
But I think it, like, I get releasing or saying, look, you get all 3. I find it really puzzling when you've got such a small immediate library. Like, it just seems like padding. I don't know how anyone else sees it, but like, to me it's like, okay, so you got 9 games and this other trilogy.
Yeah.
Like, you don't, again, because the rest, I think actually what it is the rest of it is like, we're going to hit all these other genres. We're going to make sure we have all the genres covered. But not 12 genres, because 3 of them are the same fucking series. It feels weird given the other, like, noticeable calculations.
Yeah.
I haven't played them all. I only played halfway through the first one, which I really enjoyed. I just lost track of. I own them, because, that's what happens.
Yeah, I don't own Shadow. I would like to finish out that trilogy. Again, Shadow's one I've been waiting for it to hit a certain price. I played Rise at the beginning of this year. Really enjoyed it.
Wait, is Rise the second one or the third one?
Yes, Rise is the second one, and Shadow is the third one.
How is there a definitive edition of the first and third, but not the second?
Where?
Weird.
The second one is Rise of the Tomb Raider 20.
16?
25-year celebration, I think. So maybe it's a definitive edition. It's just the they've just called it something slightly different because it's 25 years of Tomb Raider. But they are getting the definitive edition of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Then okay, cool.
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so then we got Samurai Showdown. Another fighting game, but on the other spectrum. Again, seems very calculated. You like fighting games? You want to fuck around? Play Mortal Kombat 11. You want to play some sort of competitive thing? This, I mean, I don't know anything about it, but it just seems like the exact type of niche fighting game that people.
Yeah, and I think it is It is a niche fighting game again.
I mean, it's an SNK game, right?
An SNK, yes, and a game from this year again as well. So the two fighting games that they have are from this year. You know, they haven't gone to Capcom for sort of like Street Fighter 5,
right?
Or gone for some of the other fighting games, which I think there's another game to kind of chart out on to discuss on this. But considering another game they have on that upcoming list, I would have expected another fighting game to have been here as well. But we can talk about that in a moment.
Sure, let's just crank through. So again, this seems super calculated. SNK fighting game 2019. Look, we can play with big boys, but again, that niche, I don't know why you're chasing it, because input lag is the thing. Like, people care about their controllers. Streaming game, even if you are miraculously on, do you have a service that somehow fixes the problems of whatever a local internet connection is, which is impossible, but let's pretend Stadia can do that. There's still going to be a lag there on the pitch perfect version.
Yeah.
And I mean that on before the transaction of online play, because it's also being streamed. There's just no way people who have kind of had to begrudgingly accept online plays lag are going to accept another layer of lag. It just seems like a really weird thing to chase.
Yeah, I agree.
And the last game is the game I really enjoy. Thumper.
Yeah.
I've played it in VR. It's a little frenetic.
A bit intense.
Yeah, it's great. And yeah, I think that it's called I think the developer calls it a rhythm violence game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Came out in 2016 though. October 2016.
Yeah.
Right?
And then kind of ported around and put on all of the VR devices and yeah.
Like it's on all the VR platforms, it's on the Switch, it's on everything. They did a really good job. But yeah, it's a rhythm game, right? I mean, again, it seems like they're trying to check a box, and that's like a real cheap way of doing it.
Yeah, it almost I don't know, it doesn't cater to the Just Dance crowd, but you can kind of see that
Just Dance is a interactive OG Wii type game style thing.
Yeah.
And this is a rhythm game, which like you can be hardcore about. Like
yeah.
But
it kind of it's almost that next sort of step up. I was going to say it sort of doesn't quite cater to the same crowd, but you can see a few people maybe that are like, oh, Just Dance, okay, and then not knowing what Thumper is and going, oh, this is a bit more my beat.
Yeah.
As it were. Yes.
A little miming for the YouTube viewers. Yeah, so I mean, before we go into the extended list, which I'm just going to read until you tell me to stop. So because I just wanted to say something about the whole thing, which is it seems so calculated, but the reason why it does is because it's so small, so it must have to have been calculated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if I was a founder person, like I pre-bought, and again they gave this impression on their initial like Stadia announcements and whatnots that like it'd be a huge library. I'd be fucking pissed with 12.
Yeah, absolutely.
And 12 where, let's see, Odyssey's from 2018. Destiny 2, most of it's from before this year. RDR2's from last year. All 3 Tomb Raiders are from last year, so that's half.
Yeah.
Are all old.
Yeah, that people have probably already played.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just, I see the calculations right on the page, and I'm just kind of like unimpressed by it, I guess. And And this is before we even know if any of these genres are great at being streamed. Like, rhythm games could just flop. Like, can you imagine the frustration of trying to time to the whims of internet packet flow?
You'd imagine that they've done a lot of testing, but
but
one
again,
slight hiccup, one person in your house downloading something or watching iPlayer or doing something else that's slightly more intensive just gives you that millisecond of speed difference. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how.
Yeah, and I could be totally wrong. Maybe
technology
has figured it out, but it just seems like, and maybe they I don't know. It'll be interesting. So now let's just crank through. Supposedly by the end of 2019, we'll have the following 14 titles, one of which is Borderlands 3. And Doom Eternal was originally on this list, but it's going to be delayed till. This is from Polygon. I am stealing their research. Okay, so Attack on Titan 2, Final Battle. Don't know anything about it. Sounds like anime freaks want a game. Cool. Check that box. Borderlands 3, Darksiders Genesis, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Was this the fighting game you were thinking of?
So Dragon Ball Xenoverse is the like the RPG.
Oh, right.
One,
yeah.
And Dragon Ball Fighters isn't on this list, and I would have thought it would have been.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. Is this where? Yeah. It seems odd, given that it currently actually has quite an interesting following.
Yeah.
Farming Simulator 19. Just why the fuck not? Again, I feel like they're just chasing genres.
Different genre, sure.
But like they're also chasing genres by not getting the top game of the genre. Like, look, you like simulators? We've got a simulator. Yeah, but no one really likes that simulator. We have a simulator. Final Fantasy 15. Good game.
Yeah.
Not a standard RPG, so you're not winning standard RPG, especially even JRPG fans. A lot of JRPG fans weren't super impressed.
Well, they're already in with Square Enix, aren't they, with the Tomb Raider games? So why not pick another one of their older titles? Yeah. Sure.
Football Manager 2020, everyone's favorite sporting game.
Is it the only sports game?
No, there's another one. Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Again, that's like the people who want to play that game are going to play it this month. So again, having it on the delayed list really sucks.
And again, from everything I've read, another quite broken game.
Yeah. And again, on the supposition that this is a PC version. Grid.
Yeah, so they got a racing game. There's the racing game.
Yeah, there we go. We finally got that ticked.
Tick.
The biggest of all the racing games as well. Yeah, and then a game you really liked, Metro Exodus.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Remember, there's that genre of like wandering shooters.
Again, from the start of the year.
Yep. And then here is, actually, technically there's two more. But NBA 2K20 is the other game I was thinking of with sporting.
Yes.
But also, so you took a 2K game. NBA? Is that the best one?
But
maybe it's got big numbers in the States.
But it's I think what they're trying to do is they're clearly working with certain publishers. So they're working with 2K. So they've got Red Dead Redemption, they've got Borderlands 3, and now they've got NBA 2K20.
Yeah.
They seem to be going, right, we've got these 10 publishers on board. Square Enix are one, Bethesda are one with all of those games, 2K.
Yeah.
So then they're trying to, it seems they're going, here are our publishers, what is there in the games of the last year or two that we can then say, here is this genre and this genre and this genre?
Oh, yeah, totally. I guess I'm surprised that they picked NBA, but maybe I just don't know how popular basketball games actually are.
Are there any other 2K games at the moment? Like sport games. They lost the football franchise.
Oh, I forgot about
there's no football game anymore from those guys. There's not a football game, as I would say, a soccer game from them anymore.
I forgot about that. So that's what went wrong. Was I forgot that both those things happened.
So this is the only sports game they do.
It's the only one.
Yeah.
WWE 2K20 just came out. No, that's exactly it. I somehow missed all of that, like, in my conscious memory. That makes tons of sense. Of course, it's the NBA. It's the only one. Cool. I retract that. You just partnered with not a sporting company anymore. Rage 2.
Another game from this year. Another open world first-person shooter.
That had reviews.
Yes.
And the reviews weren't in any particular direction.
No,
They
very
were
mixed.
I mean, a couple people had specific opinions on specific characters or ways of displaying evil, but generally, kind of just a meh.
Yeah.
And then here's the game that I forgot was technically sporting, Trials Rising.
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
Depends how you want to. It's somewhere between sporting and racing and something.
Again, it came out at the beginning of the year, I think.
Yep. February.
Well, yeah, one of those February 22nd games, along with Metro Exodus as well, wasn't it?
Yep.
They were going to come out on the same day, and then Metro moved, Trials maybe moved as well on that February 22nd date. That about 10 games were all going to just fall on. Yeah.
And then if you're like, oh shit, this might not work so well.
Everything moved.
Yeah. And then finally, Wolfenstein Youngblood.
The game I haven't got to yet, which I would like to play.
I've heard nothing but meh again.
Yes, they've changed the formula up slightly, and people weren't too impressed with what they'd done.
I mean, some of that seemed to be like angry gamers about playing women, but some of it just seemed like there wasn't enough innovation for what happened.
I mean, sort of ignoring the boys.
Shitty people,
I think a lot of it was around the sort of the microtransactions, the idea of the grind versus what you can purchase, how you progress, how you upgrade, those sorts of things. A bit of an issue around the AI because it is like a co-op shooter. So if you're not playing with a human, you've got the AI playing the second character, and that didn't quite sort of stack up, comparable to older games, N64 or GameCube games, where the AI or even Resident Evil 5's AI characters that aren't very good. Again,
it just so even with the expanded list, which again I think should have been a minimum at a launch, is something like 25, 26.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. These games should have come out at launch.
All those, and again, they're all older games. So then it's like, well, why didn't it's not like you couldn't get to the source code or some build or something because they're not new.
Yeah.
So why aren't they available in 3 days or whatever?
I mean, some of it might come down to previous publishing rights with certain people. Metro Exodus was exclusive to, say, Epic, and it came out then again on PlayStation and this may have been the earliest, or at least when it's going to release, may have been the earliest time they could have released it.
But like, it just seems like that type of thing you could have figured out, and it just makes your launch look super. Like, it's kind of worse to have within a month of launch adding more than 100% of your launch amount, because what people see is 12 games, not in a month 26 games.
Yeah, and I'd have, as we were kind of introing this, I'd have expected, being like, there's 12 games. That's kind of the thing that I know about this. I'd have expected there to be at least another 3 or 4 games within a week, and then another 3 or 4, 5, 6 games within another week of that. Not then another dump in a before the end of the year at some point.
So they might bleed it out. They haven't actually said, which is again problematic.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Crucially problematic because this is the most cloud-based anything has been.
Yeah.
There is no way for you to own a game Like, so you're buying a subscription to 12 games, and they're saying, we'll probably give you 14 within a month.
I think what we need to do is find someone who's ordered this and get them to come on and have a beer with us.
Oh, yeah, actually, that's a very good idea. I will. I have some people I know who have purchased it. I don't know if they're big fans. In like Facebook groups I'm a part of. Yeah, so I will send a feeler out. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's obviously we can sit here and kind of criticize the games they have out on launch, and people have been working behind the scenes to kind of get this up and running. It seems like they've had a lot of time to be able to do this. A lot of these 12 games were used in the promotional materials around E3. Not that we've seen, as you said, Aadil, not that we've seen a huge amount of promotion since then, really.
But
and it just sort of begs to me like, this releases in a week. Who knows about this?
No one. I mean, people who listen to us now. But yeah, that's the really weird thing is it seemed like they generated some buzz on their big actual like presentation thing, and then now we're a week before release, and that buzz has been long dead, and they haven't done any new buzz.
Yeah.
Like, have you given up?
Probably. Yeah. Oh dear. So let's finish our conversation there this week. Unless you have any further final pertinent points. No, fair enough. We shall see.
I literally came with the topic of I'm going to read a list, but because I'm me, I'm going to interrupt myself and say things about those.
That's fair. That's all you need. That's all you need. So yes, that is it for this week. Aadil, beers. I think I can very quickly and very easily, I'll just remind you of them, I think I easily know that the Suitsu Porter from Õllenaut was my favourite this week. The velocity from Saltaire did grow on me a little bit. That initial kind of soured fruits and slightly fermented kind of flavour, it did start to just to become a little bit more delicate. It lost some of its initial kind of punch from that, and it became a little bit more palatable as I drank it. But the porter was just nice from the start. I enjoyed it. It kept a lot of its flavour, remained smoky and sweet, and a nice combination of those two notes ran all the way through. Whilst it was dry, it did just enough to want me to go back to it rather than needing to go back to it. So a well-made, nice porter to finish my drinking for this evening out on. Aadil, how about you?
I think taste-wise, I really liked the Toast craft lager. My only complaint was it just wasn't quite bubbly enough.
Yeah.
Contrast that with the Beardo, which I kind of drank and enjoyed, but it felt like a beer. Just like didn't really do anything specifically IPA. Kind of just, yeah. I was happy to have a beer. It also wasn't super bubbly. It was just like, okay, well, I had a beer, and there was like by the end of it, I could have easily been having a beer on one of the many nights out I had in the past couple of weeks, where I was just having a beer for a beer's sake. So it goes to Toast with the reservation that I wish it had more bubbles, but it actually was an interesting lager, and it tasted like a lager, but had it was a craft lager. Like there's something interesting about it outside of lageriness, not just because it's made by a small place. So it's the Toast.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. So there are our beers this week. There are the games that we're thinking about playing, systems that we're deriding. But, Aadil, if people want to talk to you about all of those things, how do they do so?
You can reach me on all the socials except TikTok at the Omniarch, TheOmniarch. I actually think I might have a Snapchat as the Omniarch, but I don't have it installed on anything. But I'm technically there.
You could add him and send photos, but I'll never see them.
Yeah. Also, the past few weeks, we have finally got off of hiatus, and this next act has been continuously for at least 4 weeks, putting out new episodes. That's the live comedy night that I produce and turn into a podcast here in Bristol. So check that out. We're also on the socials there, and I take the pictures at the show. And this next act on Instagram is a place where you can tell me that I'm good or bad at taking pictures of people looking like they might be funny.
Nice. Some positive criticism is always welcome on the work that we do. If you'd like to do that for the podcast, you can get us in lots of different ways. At TankedUpCast on Instagram or Twitter, tankedupcast@gmail.com if you want to send us some longer form thoughts. You can go to outoflives.net to listen to other podcasts, read other articles. Our YouTube page has our lovely faces. You can see the beers that we're drinking over there as well, and there's occasionally a few little videos that go up every now and again. That's the Out of Lives YouTube page. I am at Nova_47 if you want to get hold of me on the platforms that I own. I'm not going to list them now.
Just try them out, see what happens.
Instagram, Twitter, PlayStation, Steam, Epic Games Store, GOG, Galaxy 2, maybe Origin. What's you play?
That's fine.
Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Those ones. Those things.
But yeah, also message us on Instagram or something, and we can tell you more succinctly where and if we are available to play games with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Also, there's an Out of Lives Discord, which you can find a link to on the Out of Lives Facebook page. And then you can just chat at us in person. And that's just easier.
It is. It is much easier than trying to message us on something to then talk to us on something else. So do that. Go to the Discord and just get involved in the conversations that we have over there. So for this week, we've been slightly tanked up. Bye.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net